Erik Ten Hag is out, Ruben Amorim is in, but what can Manchester United fans expect from the most exciting young coach in world football? Hello and welcome back to Inmr, where in today's podcast I'm going to be explaining Ruben Amorim's tactics and how United could set up under him for this season and beyond. First of all, who is Ruben Amorim? Amorim became Braga boss in January 2020 after just 3 months in charge of the reserves team. He won a trophy within a month and managed to beat all of the Portuguese league's top 3, Porto, Benfica and Sporting. From that, Sporting had seen enough and took a big risk, bringing in the inexperienced but exciting manager for €10 million that summer, the highest transfer fee for a manager in history at the time. Amorim soon rewarded that faith by delivering the club's first league title in 19 years. Sporting were crowned champions again last season and currently sit top of the league thanks to an 100% record from 9 games. Sporting are also 8th in the Champions League phase with 2 wins and a draw from their opening 3 fixtures. So United fans, this is his technical approach. Let's start with him building from the back. His approach is very interesting as it doesn't follow the typical ideas that we're used to seeing in the Premier League. The Portuguese coach does play a possession-based game but prefers to use a back 3 while doing it. He opts for a 3-4-3 formation, focusing on high pressing and possession. During the deep build-up play, Amorim wants his 3 centre-backs to break the first line through the centre of the pitch as often as possible. With the double pivot midfield dropping deep, the centre-backs look to play forward passes into them. They then look to turn and find attackers between the lines. If they can't turn, the pivots then play the ball wide to the advanced wing-backs. It's important to know though that they only play wide if absolutely necessary in the early phases of the build-up. Amorim will sometimes adjust the shape, asking one centre-back to push slightly higher. The centre-back that pushes helps create a numerical overload in central areas to help beat an opposition high press. That fluidity in the build-up is supported by the numbers from last season when looking at Sporting's playstyle wheel, which outlines how a team played compared with Europe's top 7 domestic leagues. Amorim's rotational setup allows Sporting to progress forward without disruption, as shown by their press resistance metric, which they're in the top 1% for. This highlights the volume of touches per opposition tackle in the first 2/3 of the pitch. A higher volume equals a greater ability to play out from the back, and only Man City and Inter Milan averaged more than Sporting's 74.9 touches per opposition tackle last season. Higher up the pitch, Amorim typically attacks in a 3-2-5 shape. That front 5 is made up of a fluid front 3 and wing-backs either side, who provide width while the 2 wider players in attack tuck in, getting closer to Victor Gyökeres. Sporting's initial wide attackers over the past few seasons have all provided a consistent goal threat by working inside and beyond the single centre forward, looking to dominate the spaces in the inside channels. This strategy overloads one side of the pitch. Amorim recruits and selects players that are capable of playing close combinations in one inside channel to draw the opposition to that side of the pitch. If they can't progress through that inside channel, this also opens up the opportunity to quickly switch the play and isolate a defender on the other side of the pitch. Nuno Santos has been converted from an attacking role and used as a left wing-back, which has added an extra attacking presence in the final third from the wide left. This is similar to how Graham Potter sometimes used wingers as wing-backs with Brighton, such as Solly March, who could create an attacking threat once they received the switch of play. At Sporting, this led to loads of overloads on the right inside channel, with Santos, who is comfortable attacking 1v1, free on the left wing. Following a switch of play, the players who had previously overloaded the right inside channel make runs to attack the box for Santos to deliver a cross or cutback. Amorim's side can vary their progression through the thirds with intricate short passing as well as playing direct balls to their wing-backs. Their circulate rating, which is 60 out of 99, might not look like a possession-dominant side, but it highlights how much variety there is in Sporting's play. Sporting are just as likely to progress the ball quickly through passes into the channels as they are to recycle possession across the pitch. It's all about what's going on around them, which dictates the route that they take. This also explains Sporting's patient attack score, again 60 out of 99. This might suggest a confused attacking approach, but that flexibility to slow down the game or speed it up is actually a huge weapon in their armoury. Those changes to Sporting's patient attack and circulate metrics last season are made all the more stark when comparing them to the previous season's figures. As you can see on screen, Amorim has tweaked the style to make Sporting more potent than ever under his leadership. All of this should be very exciting to you United fans who have been crying out for an adaptable system that doesn't crumble against specific opposition. Amorim has an answer for everything. What's even better for United fans is that last season no team registered more build-up attacks in the league than Sporting's 126. A build-up attack is an open play sequence that contains 10 or more passes and ends in a shot or touch in the opponent's penalty area. Sporting also ranked first for most direct attacks with 74, which is defined as an open play sequence that starts inside a team's own half and moves towards the opposition's goal by 50% before ending in a shot or touch in the 18-yard box. Whichever way they attack, there is a significant focus in build-up through the middle. If we take a look at their absolute width, which is the maximum distance a team gets from the centre of the pitch per sequence, they were one of the narrower teams in the Primera Liga with just 24.9 metres since the start of last season. Despite a clear focus centrally, Amorim's Sporting have had a greater understanding of when to work the ball out wide, with no team creating more chances than them in either the right or left attacking thirds since the start of last season. Out of possession, Amorim's side boasted one of the best defensive records on the whole continent last season, ranking in the top 1% for chance prevention. Only Arsenal and Feyenoord had a lower non-penalty expected goals conceded than Sporting's 0.78 per 90 across Europe's top 7 leagues. This is down to their compact shape in a 5-2-3 or 5-4-1 block, forcing opponents to play around their defensive structures and rarely through it. Amorim's side are typically flexible when playing in a low block while aggressively pressing when out of possession. When pressing high up the pitch, the front three narrow to prioritise protecting the central spaces. Sporting have a 5-man defensive line, which means you will often see a wide centre-back stepping out to press the opposition forward or attacking midfielder, confident that he has the protection of 4 other defensive teammates behind him. Once committed to a press, the attackers aim to force the play wide. The double pivot shuffles along with the ball, with the closest pivot ready to engage if needed. The second pivot player will cover the central lanes, ready to drop in between centre-backs, especially if one of those wider centre-backs gets pulled across the pitch when the wing-back jumps forward to press. The far side wing-back will narrow, adding further protection ahead of the centre-backs in central spaces. This also encourages the double pivot to be more aggressive with their staggered positioning and in their decisions to move out and press the ball. The near side wing-backs will aggressively press if the opposition break past the first line and find an opponent out wide. As a collective, Amorim asks his players to press high up the pitch and squeeze the play by often bringing his centre-backs to the halfway line. This is highlighted by the play style wheel once again, where they ranked in the top 4% for intensity and the top 16% for a high line. Only rivals Benfica logged more shot-ending high turnovers than Sporting's 58 in the league last season. Whilst all of this looks very exciting and positive, there are of course some drawbacks to his system, both in attack and defence, and he could be exposed in the Premier League. The reliance on wing-backs for both attacking and defensive duties is great if United have players that aren't injury-prone and consistent, but if not, the tactics won't work. Even if they are in form and fit, there is still the risk of being exposed on the counter if wing-backs push too high and lose possession. Now that you understand Amorim's tactics, let's take a look at what went wrong for Ten Hag. The Athletic put out an amazing piece that looked at 10 data charts which highlighted what went wrong for Ten Hag, and I've picked up the 3 which stood out to me most. First up, looking at their play style wheel from last season, Man United had one of the poorest defences in Europe, as you can see from their chance prevention metric, 8 out of 99, and they also rarely dominated possession, just 61 out of 99 on average. United's approach last season was largely based on counter-attacking rather than territorial dominance, and that's shown by the circulate rating being higher than the field tilt. They had no real system, and their bluntness in attack had been a problem for well over 18 months. The major issue had been that Ten Hag's side didn't have any attacking patterns that looked to unlock opposition defences. United's approach to getting the ball in the box last season was revealing, and Bruno Fernandes's actions show that. Not only was he the man to most likely feed the runs of United's wingers to carry the ball, but his 216 passes or crosses into the box was more than double than his nearest teammate, pointing to a notable skill and one-dimensional approach to United's deliveries. Finally, the best one of all in my opinion, just highlights how poor it was for United last year, is shots conceded. United faced an incredible number of shots last season, once again highlighting their defensive frailties. United's 17.4 non-penalty shots conceded per 90 was topped by only relegated Sheffield United. And if you thought the context behind this stat could get any worse, you're wrong. The most interesting part of all of this for me is that United's total tally of 667 shots conceded last season was more than the Derby County side in 2007-08, who won just one game all season and finished the campaign with just 11 points. Even they conceded less shots than United did last season. So that's where it went wrong for Ten Hag. Now back to Amorim, who could be in charge this weekend for United's match against Chelsea. Here is how the starting 11 could look. Amorim likes the goalkeepers to be involved in the build-up, similar to how Ten Hag liked to use Onana, so he'll obviously stay. The back three at the moment looks like it'll be made up of Martinez, De Ligt and Lindelof. De Ligt is most likely to be the central defender who steps into midfield to create the overloads. Into the midfield then, Manuel Ugarte flourished under Amorim at Sporting and will likely return to his role as the defensive shield of a double pivot. He'll be joined by Christian Eriksen for the moment, who will provide the creativity in possession. Diogo Dalot and Mazraoui as the wing-backs are going to have a lot to do, so we'll see how they get on. And then of course Garnacho and Fernandes look like they start wide, but as we've spoken about, they come inside and support centrally for Joshua Zirkzee, who I think Amorim will prefer due to his physical profile. He's a similar build to Gyökeres in just being a lot bigger and can potentially be a bit of a battering ram at times. They like to play intricate football, but you have seen at Sporting that there's moments where Gyökeres just picks up the ball and bulldozes through, and hopefully Zirkzee can provide that this weekend and maybe build that aspect of his game up under Amorim. Finally then, here are 3 signings that Amorim could make in the coming windows. Did you know that out of the 14 signings in the current United squad made since Ten Hag took over, 7 of them are either Dutch or former Ajax players? That means that 50% of the signings were definitely Ten Hag's, so it seems only fair that Amorim can make some big signings in the next few windows before we all judge him. So here's 3 to look out for. First up, let's get the obvious one out of the way, Viktor Gyökeres. The Swedish international has scored 16 goals in 15 games already this season, and across 65 games for Sporting, he's scored 59 goals. The 26-year-old has an £85 million release clause in his contract, which expires in June 2028, but according to Sky Germany, that is going to be reduced at the end of this season to as little as £50 million. Last season, only Harry Kane and Luuk de Jong had more goal involvements than Gyökeres' 39 across Europe's top 7 leagues, and that's broken down into 29 goals and 10 assists. Although the Red Devils are well stocked in attack after signing Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee in the past 2 summers, Gyökeres is already the finished article. For me, for 50 million, this seems like a no-brainer. Next one, sticking to Portugal, but moving away from Sporting, Man United need another top-quality centre-back. Yes, they've got Martinez, De Ligt, Leny Yoro, but what are the chances all 3 will always be fit? Bringing in Antonio Silva from Benfica could help massively, especially with Harry Maguire, Johnny Evans and Victor Lindelof all expected to leave next summer. United will be desperate for a new centre-back and Silva looks a good fit. The 21-year-old has a growing reputation in Portugal, having already made over 100 appearances for his current club. He's excellent in the tackle, whilst also being comfortable on the ball, so looks ready-made for Amorim's system. According to Team Talk, Benfica would ideally like to pick up 83 million. However, some reports have suggested that if Silva pushes for a move, the fee could be decreased to 50 million. And the last one is Alphonso Davies. Given the system that Amorim likes to employ, it's about time that the Red Devils target some actual win-backs, and one could be available very soon. Bayern Munich star Alphonso Davies is out of contract at the end of the season and is already being chased by a host of clubs. The Canadian is being eyed by Real Madrid and Barcelona, whilst United are already waiting in the wings should the 2 Spanish giants fail to strike a deal. Should they manage it, the Red Devils would be getting one of the most effective fullbacks in Europe, and he would suit this system superbly. The 23-year-old has already racked up over 200 appearances for Bayern, whilst winning everything there is to win in Germany. So maybe it's time for a new challenge, and his pace would completely transform United's left side, where they should really move on from Luke Shaw given his constant injury issues. That is where I'm going to end today's podcast, but there are plenty of others you can go and listen to. For more content, be sure to check out my website, that's inmrfootball.co.uk. On there you can find match reports, live blogs, club updates and so much more. And if that's not enough, Inmr is also on X and Instagram, so you can follow me on both of those platforms for even more daily football updates. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.